Sometimes life has a way of being totally misassessed, improperly diagnosed. If you're hanging around the wrong people, sometimes you see everything that seems to have struggle associated with it as a dilemma that's going to be very perplexing, too difficult to resolve. One of the things that I've come to know, even in this discussion with Ken, is how important it is that you do not allow life to dictate your who to you, but you allow some of those things that attempt to marginalize or diagnose or label you, enable or whatever. You learn how to use those things as tools for provocation to become who you are. And so I'm going to let Ken take us back into where we left off at. He was telling us about how he was put in a class with these special needs kinds of kids, and he learned something from there about how love leverages. I want to leave it right there. Ken, take us on back in.
I think it's nice to just get back to really the genesis of everything, you know, when it comes to a person when they're young, and you're reflecting back as an older man, you know, you're trying to figure out who you are and why you are becoming the person that you are. And I think when you really, I think back that it was a pivotal point in my life was when I was, you know, going through first grade, second grade. You know, my parents realized that, hey, you're seeing your A's that look like B's, and you're not speaking the way you should be speaking at this early age, you know, when you're talking to your friends and family members. So they really, you know, they really sought out some specialists for me.
So now this was only you, not your siblings.
Yeah.
You were the younger.
I was the younger.
And you were the only one that was diagnosed.
Yes. Yeah.
Dysfunction. I mean, excuse me.
Yes.
So we all got a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
A great deal. But dyslexic.
Dyslexic, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I mean, again, I had to really go back. So I was around people that were blind. I was around people that were mute. And I was around people that I was in a category where we had to be around these special teachers to figure out, okay, so we went through special books, and so each class, there could be any type of person in there. So you being a person who is you feel like you're somewhat normal, but then you feel like, okay, well, why am I here? I must be dysfunctional in some degree, and how can I get my, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? So
how can I change this?
How can I change it? So, but through that period of time, I got to really be with people, so I remember vividly. I was I was on the playground, and a girl started kicking me, just kicking me, you know. But I was telling her to stop, but she wouldn't stop because she was deaf. She couldn't hear me, but I think she liked me.
Oh wow!
I don't know.
But look at that.
But that was her way of just saying,
way of letting you
hey,
know,
yeah.
And she had no other way, no other means of expressing it.
Yeah, and then just other times when I remember there were a period of time when I had to pick up one of the young kids that were along with her carpooling. The kid didn't want to put his clothes on, so I had to get out of the car with this younger kid that was in his underwear, because he refused to put his clothes on because his mind wasn't, So I had to get out.
So you got a chance to see the extremity of the different diverse kinds of manifestations from people who just did not have that ability to do what others could.
Yeah, and then there were opportunities too, where, to be honest, there were times when they were going to the restroom, they couldn't wipe themselves. Mm-hmm. So, I'm in a situation as a young kid, they need help. Mm-hmm. So what kind of, so in that helping that kind of people, I think God was saying, hey, you're willing to help that type of individual.
So he was expanding, or he was showing you your capacity to be with people.
Be with people.
Without being annoyed by people.
Exactly.
See, that's good.
So that happened at an early age. So I think that really defined me and how I've interacted with people.
And so as you grew, you noticed that while others would have certain biases towards people, you just didn't have those biases.
I didn't have those biases.
Because you certainly ran into that.
I ran into them very early in my life. And I think that's just kind of followed me all through my life.
And you found yourself, go ahead.
So I think that was a gift that I was able to see. And then ultimately by working really hard, through these challenges, going through the workbooks and, going through a lot of uncomfortable things, and I had to really, really, really work hard to perform, because I was an athlete. So if you're an athlete, you need to be eligible. If you don't make the grades, you don't play football, you don't play basketball, you don't play volleyball. So I needed to excel in not just in sports, but I had to excel in education.
So by the time you were in college,
yeah,
you were more normal now.
Yeah, I was.
As we would say.
Yeah.
And fitting in, was that any more comfortable than it was
earlier?
Well,
I think reading in front of people, it's very hard for me.
Okay.
It still is a little bit.
Okay.
But ultimately, I love communicating, and I love talking. When you're talking about the Lord, or you're talking about something like health and fitness, I can be in front of 1 million people.
Okay.
But when it comes to something that I might not be so familiar with, then that's when I would probably feel.
So my challenge, Ken, was I know exactly how that feels to be intimidated about reading in front of people. But it became a provocational challenge for me. So what I did was I went and stocked. I would go to these yard sales during the weekend and buy up all these books, encyclopedias of a variety of sorts, and all kinds of just books, special books. And I would go home and sit down and challenge myself to read, because I needed to get beyond that. The gift in me needed to be able to intellectualize, to be able to have a broad enough veracity, to be able to be in different kinds of arenas. So I took the challenge, although it was a difficult challenge for many years, because it took a lot of work, but I would literally take a dictionary and challenge myself to go through 3 pages of A's, 3 pages of B's, 3 pages of C's, 3 pages of D's a week, and learn how to correctly enunciate and define. And then I would challenge myself to go back and learn antonyms, synonyms, etc. And because I felt so behind, I was afraid that if I did not train myself, then I was going to have to live with myself. And I didn't like that about myself. I think that's where you are. I just wanted to come back around to that. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I've never shared that part.
Yeah.
You brought that out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, never shared that part.
Yeah, I think in those moments, I think that's why we're so driven.
Yeah.
To be successful.
Driven to be successful.
And we know that we can rely on that foundation of work.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, I was reading a book, I think his name is Joshua Metcalf. It's Chopping Wood, Carrying Water. And he also did a book, Pounding the Stone. So, all through life, these society people needed. Back in the day, you had to chop wood and carry water, or you didn't live.
Yeah.
Here we just turn on a faucet. We have hot water. If you don't have wood, you don't cook, or those basic essentials. But I guess essentially what it is it was about a young kid who wanted to go become a samurai, a warrior, archer, and he went to Japan to become the samurai. And this whole story is that this guy's chopping wood, carrying water. It's kind of like a Karate Kid story,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I can hear it.
You know
It's
what I
on
mean?
the floor.
So it's like, wax on, wax off.
It's on the floor.
So it's that whole premise is that, hey, why am I chopping wood, carrying water?
Yeah.
And then, well, if you don't chop wood, carry water, you're going to be here for another 30 to 40 more years.
Yes.
So these certain things, there's steps that you just can't not do.
Right. You can't avoid them.
You can't avoid them. So I think when you're applying that in our lives, I think about, being an athlete by all the dribbling drills and all the mundane things that our coaches had to do is that keep doing this and keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this repetitiveness. And I'm sure for yourself and your congregation and life, it's like reading the word, keep reading the word. It is written, it is written, it is written, it is written. Because we know when we talk about spiritual things, it's a spiritual, the unseen realm that we're battling, principalities.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
And darkness that we don't see. So we have to have trust and have faith in the ability to, bring forth the word in our life constantly so that you can be able to weaponize yourself to defeat that enemy that we know who we are in Christ. So that, I think, is a good tie-in, but essentially, in business and in life, I think you're finding how you can be able to get that workout in the morning.
Okay.
What kind of foods are you going to eat in the morning that you like? What are the bad things that you're eating? Is it a bowl of cereal?
Say that again.
Bowl of cereal.
Bad things.
Bad things. Milk is sugar.
Uh-huh.
Cheerios is a carb, it's sugar, and the honey nut on the Cheerios is sugar.
Uh-huh.
So it's one big sugar bowl.
Uh-huh.
So when you have too much sugar, your body has to pump in too much insulin.
See?
And when you have too much insulin in your body doesn't burn fat as the energy source.
When it doesn't burn the fat.
And if it doesn't burn fat, it's going to burn muscle.
Okay.
It's going to find glycogen in your muscles and in your liver. So when you go to work out, you're really burning the glycogen in your muscles and your liver. You're not even burning fat. So when you're working out, you're not even burning fat until you leave the facility. That's when you're burning fat, because that's when your heart rate's at a lower level.
Say that again. When you're working out, you're not really burning the fat. You don't burn the fat until
you leave.
Till you leave.
Because it speeds up your metabolism, and then you have the right heart rate. So it takes tons of oxygen to convert fat to an energy. Okay. For combustion to happen. For you to have combustion in a car, you need tons of oxygen. So oxygen has to be present for combustion to happen. So which is neat. So when your heart rate's way too high, you're in an anaerobic state. Your heart rate's way too high because you're out of breath. So when you see, Pastor, when you go to the club, you see a lot of people on those step mills,
right,
slowly walking up those stairs for 45 minutes to an hour. You see them, but they are burning fat because their heart rate is really, really slow.
Okay.
And their muscles, is helping them burn that fat. So when you're walking on a treadmill, you need to, vary it, but you don't want to have your heart rate too high. Now you can work on your heart rate conditioning, your cardiovascular exercise, by increasing and decreasing your heart rate zones. But when a person goes out and runs for a marathon or a 5K or whatever, their heart rate's so high, their body's burning the sugar that they consume for the morning and the sugar that's in their muscles. And if they don't consume some type of sugary pace on the race, they're not going to finish the race. Because that's why a lot of people, when you see that long distance runners, they're not have as much muscular, because their body's using muscle to run with.
Okay.
So it's hard for them to gain muscle because they run too much. Or you see a cyclist, they cycle too much, so they can't keep up with the calories that they're constantly needing, So it's all about calories in and calories out, energy in, energy out. And, unfortunately, when we're overweight, we ate the calories. One day, we're doing well, but at one point in your life, you ate the calories, because energy has to get stored somewhere. So, Pastor, the situation that we have to think about is a fat cell is a fat cell. And those fat cells, they don't disappear. They just get bigger. So they store energy. So we're shrinking fat cells to be smaller cells, and we're increasing muscle cells to be bigger cells. So those muscle cells actually will eat the fat. So that's why it's kind of like an engine to a car. A person will come into their early life, they might have a V8 engine or that Ferrari that we're talking about, and through their life, through bad choices and bad things that happen in their life and not moving, their engine that was a V8 engine now is a V6 or a V4, because they're losing muscle over the course of their life. So as we age, we lose muscle as we age. So our posture, everything goes, because your muscles are an organism. It's a big gigantic organ, just like your skin, So you got to take care of this amazing temple that God's given you.
Right.
So you can go out and preach the word of God, the gospel, in a healthy body, right? That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Here, you're going to be preaching till you're very old, because looking at you, it's that balance of trying to, say, hey, God, I'm going to take care of the body that you've given me. It's like a talent, Are you going to bury it, or you're going to use it,
See, I love this, Kim, because again, this is getting right on into essentially what I wanted us to accomplish here, because oftentimes there's just not enough emphasis in the, let's say, religious or spiritual community on fitness, the importance of it. We should be the carriers of it. We should be probably more responsible for the fitness concept than anyone else, because we have to understand the importance of taking care of the temple. I don't like not feeling good, especially when it's attributed to something that I did or I had control over. And I'm listening at you give all of these definitive explanations for why things happen to us the way that they do. And I'm thinking, first of all, this is what I love and appreciate about someone such as yourself as a friend, because it gives me the opportunity to have someone in my life that knows proficiently their trade the way I trained to know mine.
Yeah.
That's, you asked me a question about the scripture, and we're going to go down to the, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like when I'm sitting there, sometimes the seniors would say, my God, you ask him anything, and he's ready. I love the way that you are not just reflective of ownership, but you're also reflective of ownership. You are owned by or possessed by what you are an owner of. So you're not just telling us to come over here and be a part of something that I really don't participate in. I just make money with it. You're showing us that this is not just what Ken does. This is who Ken is, and this has become the byproduct of his whole entire family. This is how. Talk to me.
Well, I think, again, it's that principle of being excellent in everything you do.
Okay.
If it be, I think that's what I think. And you got to, in my family, I have an acronym called AIE, and that AIE means attitude is everything.
Okay.
So they're gonna, and certain things are gonna come up in your life that are gonna be positive or negative, but those positive and negative things are good. You want, all of us who've gone through stuff of success, it's all those lessons that were learned when things weren't going well.
AIE.
AIE is attitude is everything.
It's everything.
So my kids know what AIE is. They're born. You're going to school with a positive mental attitude, and then you're going to pursue excellence in everything you do. Because if you're capable of getting an A, then get an A. Why settle for less than
That's good.
Less than an A?
I like that.
And I think we need to apply that into our life. And I think we do that too, is that we think about our work as a form of worship. So my work is a form of worship.
That's good.
So, and my gym is a place of worship.
I appreciate the wholesomeness of the environment, the cleanliness, the constant upkeep.
Yeah, well,
maintenance.
that's that whole level of care. So ultimately, for me, at Gold's Gym, that is my ministry. That is again, that's my church. We have the visible church that we're in right now, and we have the invisible church. And within my business, when it comes to cleanliness, again, we just ranked third in all franchises in the world. So
you just ranked third in all franchises in the world.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Now I've got a friend.
So, when you come to my club, that's what you see.
That's what I see. It is what I see, and I think it's
orderliness.
We all appreciate. Yes, I love it.
So then now, again, that allows that person to want to get to the parking lot because they want to go to a place that's clean. They want to go to that community that they are able to have that little small group at the end of their workout and spread the gospel. And that's what's neat is that when you see the club, we can look at our churches and we can look at the diversity of our churches and who we're reaching. And that's the truth of it all. Because when I go out to a new city or a new town, I'm always looking for churches, but I'm always experimenting. I'm always I'm going to all churches.
Yeah.
And I think it's neat to be able to, when you're looking at, when you go to a gym, you have all
cultures,
everything's diverse.
Yeah. We're a melting pot.
And then we're always trying to bring diversity into the church, but culturally, people do things differently. Even with our eating, we are culturally eating different things. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to break down over a long period of time and have tough conversations. And then we have to build bridges so that that gym allows us to interact with people that we normally don't interact, that we could be able to help spot, or we could be able to just have a great conversation. So it does allow us to be able to have these small groups, just like you have in your church, because church is all about getting you to do small group anyway. You have a big church, small church, mega church, but it all is about how I can do community in a small group of people and to hold us accountable and to be able to work in something as a mission. And ultimately, I think with what I try to accomplish there is that I have a leader in cleanliness, and her name's Lee, and she's been with me since the get-go.
You're talking about your wife?
No.
Okay.
This is Lee, not my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, she runs that department.
Wait a minute. She works there.
She works there.
I see.
Lee.
Lee. She's
a blonde who's all over the place.
Okay.
She's ADHD, and but she has a crew of women.
Yeah.
And we do, and that mission is that it is a form of worship.
Okay.
And she is a Christian, and she realizes how much of a part of herself, and getting that done for me is going to bring the atmosphere that we all want to do. Is how coming into that gym today, people sort out their problems. They think about what they need to do.
They really do.
They go through their head, hey, what do I need to do today? They had a bad situation happen with their wife or family or this and that. And they can go in there and they can let some of the stress out. And then they can talk to people that are not going to judge them or just be able to be real with them.
You would be amazed at how my phone is full of contacts from Gold's Gym, all ages. I think they're as young as teens and as old as right at their late 70s, early 80s. And they call, they text. They're always just sharing something that's enjoyable. They ask for information. They ask for insight. We meet at the coffee club, all because of Gold's Gym. And they really enjoy coming together and just kind of sharing that camaraderie. Those discussions are so warm and cordial, Kim, because everybody meets over one central idea. We're trying to be fit for our future so that we don't have to be so frustrated all the time. And we're learning how that fitness helps us to work out that bad blood and that bad energy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all those that change that, they get rid of that emotional baggage. And psychological distractions. We get rid of it, and it seems like everybody just kind of settles down and enjoys himself. And they actually push me to a point where sometimes I'm almost like wondering, God, are you trying to tell me this needs to be some form of meeting ground or something? I mean, because it's so wholesomely healthy.
Yeah.
How we share. And it's all because of what you allow us to do there at the gym.
We just want it to be organic. We want it to be genuine.
And that's the key.
And let it just, God is sovereign.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's good.
You just need to marinate on that. You know, God is sovereign. He's in control. So, you know, everybody can have a certain little Joseph story in them. You know what I mean? And that's wonderful.
I like that.
You know, the ability to know, hey, you know, here's Joseph. Yeah, that whole story is just God's sovereignty, and all the Old Testament. When you look at all the
each of the patriarchs,
all these patriarchs, how dysfunctional they are, and how brothers and sisters, you know, just the whole thing. I think it's just fun just to see how God's hand is working, you know, and knowing that God is using the evil of this world to bring everything. For my life, there's things that are going to happen in my life, and that gives me a lot of peace and a lot of calm. So when I'm in these storms, I'm able to know that He's in the boat with me, and I can rest in His arms. I can sleep with Him in that boat, or I can be in that boat all crazy about the weather. Or I can have that image that God wants me to have that type of peace.
I'm sure everyone that's listening is saying, boy, he's teaching Bishop's lesson. I just finished talking about the boat.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Sometimes, with Peter, you got to step out of the boat.
You got to step out of the boat, man,
you know?
and
then
do what Jesus is doing. You got to walk on
right.
what others are being troubled by, sinking in because they're worried about it.
Yeah.
And you can't worry about it because you go back to that word you mentioned, sovereignty. He's in control of it. If you trust in Him with all of your heart, without leaning to your own understanding, you discover He's got you. He don't just got your back, He got you.
Yeah.
He got you. Nothing can happen to you greater than Him because He's very God. Ken, I want you to talk a little bit more about your family. I think we're going to have to do a third. How much time do you have left? Are you able to go a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Do we have enough time to do one more cut out here? Okay, great. So what we're going to do, friends, in just a moment, we're going to be back. And this time, I'm going to let Ken talk to us some about how, as a man, he has been able to use this privilege of business and ownership that God has given him to really be a good husband and father, and how he uses it to the good of his household, and then also for the sake of the community, etc. So we'll be back in just a moment. Bishop Bush, yours truly, Ken Lynch.
Ken Lynch.
Amen.